Welcome everybody to Performance with Project. In this video we'll look at some of the features, the various look and feel of Microsoft Project to help you get started a little quicker with the project or the workforce planning you might be getting involved with. First of all, let's take a look at some of the various sections of a typical worksheet as we see here. You can see the various ribbons up on the top here, and a lot of these ribbons mimic Microsoft Office Suite, but there are a few different options which are unique to Microsoft Project, and in this video series we'll certainly do a deep dive to take a look at some of the advantages there that can help you along the way. You've got the main area here where you insert your tasks and duration start dates and allocate resources, and then of course the typical Gantt chart view. In between the main worksheet and the ribbon there is a timeline which can be used to identify and highlight select tasks and activities. If you want to make more room and remove this timeline temporarily or permanently, you can simply double click on that. If you want to get it back again, you can go to the View ribbon and click Timeline and you'll see it back again. Now, before getting acquainted with Microsoft Project, such as the case with any computer program, it's always a nice idea to research and find out where the shortcuts lie. And Microsoft Project has dozens of keyboard shortcuts that can really help you along the way in your project work. Now, there are dozens of project keyboard shortcuts, and you can access these through various help forums and through support at Microsoft. But four of the ones that I find particularly useful are the F2 button, the Insert button, Delete button, and Control F2. So F2, what does this do? Well, this helps us to carry out an edit to an already existing task. Now you can see if I were to make an edit with this particular one, set date for street party, and I was to simply start typing, well, it would straight away delete the majority of the task in that cell, which is probably something that we don't want. Now we could double click and wait for the dialog box to arrive. Here it is, and then make the adjustment in the name area there as follows. Or we could simply use the shortcut F2. So by clicking shortcut F2, it puts it in an edit mode, and then you can go and edit as you like. So it's quite a nice, useful little shortcut there. The second one is the Insert button. Now, some versions of Microsoft Project may not have this capability. In fact, the Microsoft forums allude to this being available on Project Online, but every version that I've used in the past has had this capability, so hopefully you do too. And the beauty of Insert is if you want to insert a task, say for example in between these two tasks here, set date for the street party and create invitations to distribute neighbours, well, you click the task that you'd like to insert above, and then you click the Insert button on your keyboard, and as you can see, it'll insert a new area there for you to insert a task as follows. So quite a neat little shortcut. The other one is the Delete button. Now there's a couple of different functions here that you can use delete. If you want to remove something in a particular cell, you can click on delete like so. If you want to remove a whole line, including the task and all of its various characteristics, you can highlight the whole line and then click delete, and it will remove everything for you. So in this sense, Microsoft Project differs a little bit from Microsoft Excel. And then the last one is the Alt F2, which enables a link between tasks. So let's insert a new task here. So new task. After set the date for the street party, you can highlight those two and then click Control F2, and you can see the tasks are linked. A few good and interesting shortcuts there. Now, before you get into the business of commencing your project detailing all of the tasks and subtasks that you want to include in your project schedule, it's good to do some upfront work to hopefully save you some time later on down the track. And some of that upfront work includes setting your scheduling mode, setting your task mode, and specifying a start date, and nominating also the non-work days that you'll have for the duration of your project. So let's begin by looking at what's involved with setting up your scheduling mode and your task mode. Now you can see down at the bottom left hand corner there, new tasks are by default manually scheduled. Now we want to change that. So how do we do this? We go to File, then down the bottom for this particular version, click Options. Your Options button might be somewhere else along the screen, but for this version it's down the bottom left hand side there, Options. And you're going to want to jump into the Schedule tab here, and you can see here new tasks created. We want them to go to auto scheduled. Now manually scheduled tasks might suit your particular needs, but most of the time personally it's good to have these automatically scheduled on the start date. You can save a little bit of time in that regard. The other thing you want to also take note of is the default task type. Now in this particular point here, it looks at the fixed units. We want to change that to fixed duration. Now the reason why many project managers prefer this is because fixed duration, obviously by its name, it keeps the duration without project interfering and making adjustments on that fixed duration for the task on your behalf. And it's also important to ensure that new tasks being effort driven is left unchecked, because effort driven and fixed units, and also the other option there, fixed work, it can have a tendency to make adjustments that you might not be pleased with. For example, you might have a particular resource assigned to a task. If you were to add another resource to that task, if in fixed units and in effort driven, project will, on your behalf, make an adjustment to that duration, and you might not be happy with that. So if you're more comfortable with keeping the duration of your various tasks fixed, giving you more control, then you certainly want to ensure that you choose fixed duration. So auto scheduled, fixed duration are important considerations for you to do in that upfront work. Now the other thing to consider also is nominating a start point for your project. And you, up in your ribbon here, click on the Project tab, Project Information, and here you can nominate your start date as to when you want to do your project. By default, it'll jump to to today's date, but you can choose a time that's convenient and that's feasible for your project. Now, you might wonder, well, what do you do if you have already commenced your project schedule, listed a whole lot of tasks, and you realize that your project start date needs to move? Well, in this particular case here, you can make that adjustment like before, project information, nominate a new project start date, so we might look at the 1st of July, click OK, and then automatically all of your tasks are now in line, and assume a new task date of new project date of 1st of July. So it automatically will shift your tasks and their dependencies in that manner. Now the third area of importance in doing some upfront work prior to getting into the project schedule side of things is to nominate your non-working days. And this is done once again in the Project tab of your ribbon. and click Change Working Time. And this will enable us to nominate the days. They might be public holidays, they might be non-work days for your particular organisation, and organise these so your project schedule takes these into account. For example, we might have a public holiday on the 5th of August, Monday the 5th of August, so we can simply holiday, click away. So exceptions, public holiday, 5th of August, click OK, and then all of a sudden you would see that your schedule has moved a little bit, and this particular task that ordinarily would have had 5 days covering the 5th of August has now taken that into consideration and moved the schedule accordingly. So by considering your scheduling mode, task mode, start project date, and non-working days, you can save yourself a lot of time through your project scheduling process. Thank you for listening. I really hope this video was helpful. Please subscribe, it would be very much appreciated, and we look forward to seeing you in future videos.